I have pushed record, so thank you for the reminder. So today we're going to talk about some transportation industry updates. We have had a lot of changes and things happen in transportation. Most of this information that I'm going to share with you, you should know a little bit about it already. You're going to hear words like MAP 21, MVD. Some of the stuff at the end, though, I am sharing with you just because it's interesting, federal level, what could be coming down the pike, things that we want to keep in mind. So, hey, are there changes for us? What do we need to do? How do we need to prepare for these? So let's get started. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about MVD status. All of us, have trainees. We have drivers with certifications, driver's license expiring, that sort of thing. So we're going to talk about that. An interesting comment came up earlier if you were part of the Let's Talk support staff conversation about DPS and them asking for a 39-month MVR for drivers. I talked to Rose at DPS, so I've got some good answers for you. We're going to talk about FMCSA Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse. I hope this will not be the first time that you hear these words, but I've got an update for you on that front. We're also going to talk about MAP 21. Again, you've heard me harp on MAP 21 for the last year, but I do have an update for you. We're going to talk about the Real ID Act of 2005. This is coming into effect. I've got some information for you because it does affect us as drivers in the state of Arizona. We're also going to talk about the Department of Transportation warning on CBD products. This is a really hot button topic. Several of the big federal entities have put out information. I've seen school bus fleet put out webinars on it. We're just going to have a really quick discussion on it, and I have a very bottom line, easy answer for you, so there's no confusion on to CBD or not to CBD. We're also going to talk about pending proposed rulemaking. This is what's really interesting, and I hope you enjoy it. It's just stuff that's floating around out there that could affect our industry that I hope you find interesting, just like I do. So MVD first. Let's talk about MVD. I got an email from them today asking customers to have patience with service delays, mail delivery, and phone waits. You may know, you should know, if you've done any training recently, that most of the offices are closed. Now, there are some I have heard that are open. With that being said, they are requiring appointments right now. So I do want you to know that this is still in effect, that drivers whose licenses expire between March and September of 2020, those have been extended. So if my driver's license expired March 15th, there's an extension on that. I'm not driving illegally. MVD wants us to understand there's been an extension. So if you have drivers right now who you're going back to school, you're planning, you see that their license has expired, have them call the office and see if they can make an appointment. Otherwise, understand, MVD does know, and I'm going to talk about FMCSA in just a bit. MVD does know that we've got some expirations going on out there. Again, you're automatically extended 6 months. You don't need to visit the office if you don't want to. If you are concerned about it personally, if it's you and you feel you need to follow up on it, go ahead and make that call and ask that question. My guess is you will get the answer, no, we're aware of it. We know your status. We can see it right here. It's been extended. They are taking appointments only. You can't just walk in unless you happen to be in an area where maybe the office close to you regionally is open. For the most part, they are not taking walk-ins. It's appointment only. That's why they're warning us, hey, when you call in, it's a longer wait. So I do have a question for you, because as much information as I can find for you, you all give me information just as well. So I do want to ask before I move on, because I want to show you one thing, but I want to make sure nobody else out there has better information than I do. Does anybody or has anyone gotten any notice from either MVD or FMCSA beyond what I'm telling you right now for dates being pushed out? Do you have nothing? Tommy says nothing. Okay. Uh, Erica is asking, what about those who are currently holding permits yet to receive their actual license? I will let you know that the email that I got today from MVD says, go ahead and check, call in and check, but they can see your status. They know exactly what your status is. So unless you're in that testing, training and testing process, they are aware of who's got the permit, when dates are due. Hey, Tommy, do you have something to say? You're muted.
There we go. The last I read from FMCSA, the only waiver that they had was the physicals were good through June 30th.
Here
But
it is right here. Yeah.
yeah, and my physical expired May 15th. I still have not received anything from ADOT or DMV that
Mine
it's
too.
been
Yeah.
expired.
Right.
But our
Yeah.
company just started doing physicals, so I just went. But I've never received anything. So I don't think any
Okay.
notices have been going
Okay.
out lately, to be
I
honest with
just wanted to check and thank you all, Beverly, Chantel, Teresa. Jerry did get a notice. Nancy, thank you very much. I think that these dates still hold. However, this one that I'm showing you right now, the FMCSA CDL waiver, what this is saying is if you, and I'm not going to read all the mumbo jumbo, just show you if you want to look for yourself, type in Google FMCSA CDL waiver, and you can read all this mumbo jumbo. The bottom line is they have said that anybody who expired between March, I think 24th, March 1st, maybe even, is good through June 30th. Do I suspect, given today's increase of uh, virus reportings, do I suspect they're going to extend June 30th? Probably. So we can look for that. Thank you, Tommy. So the best information I have for you about certifications right now is we're looking at June 30th for DOT physical. Again, look for a notice there. We're probably going to be extended on that. And then MVD has said through September. So good information. Thank you. Again, if you need to make an appointment with MVD, there is the website for you, theservicearizona.com. Okay, DPS. Angie and Margaret earlier during our Let's Talk session mentioned that DPS has been asking folks for the 39-month motor vehicle record for new drivers. And I wanted to talk with you about that because I did talk with Rose this morning at DPS because I want to clear up any confusion about what that means. To ask what has changed about this, nothing, but I do want to show you this much right here. These right here, this is our minimum standards, the 13-102, certification of school bus drivers. And it says here that to be certified, I'll just bottom line you, to be certified, we all have to turn in the paperwork to DPS. We know this, we have our process. Part of the process, it does require down here at the bottom, total points accumulated against the applicant's driving record during the 2 years before they get their DPS bus driver certification. Typically, what has been the DPS process up until now has been DPS does it. They pull the driving record for the new certified bus driver. Nothing has changed as far as the requirements. DPS says to be a certified bus driver, we have to know that your driving record is pretty clear. You know we can't have more than 8 points on our record. So DPS has done that work for us. Part of the process has been DPS communicates with ADOT, and ADOT gives that information over to DPS. ADOT is currently going through a brand new system change. It has really caused a kerfluffle in our industry because if you were signed up with them to pull records previously, now it's a little more challenging. There's encryption data information that has to be done. It's different. And DPS is nothing if not a little bit antiquated with their technology. They're a state agency and doing the best they can. So with that being said, they're absolutely not changing any guideline. They're just saying, hey guys, As school districts, we need you to help us. So when you're turning in the new driver paperwork for them to get their certification, can you please also supply the 39-month record, because we aren't unable to do it. So nothing has changed guideline wise. It's just their process doesn't match with the new ADOT program, so they're unable to pull the information. Rose said that it's temporary. I'm not sure what they're doing, you know, to update their system. I didn't ask, but I just want you to know, hey, this is going to be part of their new process for now. Don't be surprised. It's nothing new. How it affects you is if you don't pull driver records currently, if you're not in the habit of it, if you're not a vendor or contractor with MVD to pull records, then you're going to have to incorporate that into your training process somewhere. Either get your trainee to get that for you, or you become a vendor of MVD and do that on your own. And on a side note, this brings up a really good point that I want to make for you. As a school district, a government entity, you are allowed to pull driver records for free, absolutely free. All you have to do is go on to the, I think it's the A. Data Services page. Don't quote me on that. I think it's data something. I'm sorry, I don't have that right in front of me. You fill out an application, and it's like 1,000 pages long, and it takes 5 years. I'm being facetious. It takes a really long time for them to vet you. Basically, you're proving that you're a school district. That's really all it is. But what I want you to know is take this new opportunity working with DPS on this and just make yourself a vendor. Pull those records for free. You know the federal guidelines are, we have to have a new one every year for our drivers anyway. And you know that DPS says you have to have a current one every 24 months. So since you have to do that anyway, take the opportunity to become a vendor with them. Good. Let's move on. So the clearinghouse. This should not be new to you. You guys should be very familiar with this verbiage. It's the new drug and alcohol website that took effect in January. A lot of you, I knew exactly when you were doing the work, because it was not easy to figure out exactly what the electronic data service is. Thank you, Catherine. That's what it is on MVD, electronic data services. Thank you. A lot of you did the hard work and got all your drivers onto the clearinghouse. What is it? You should know this. It's just a place that all CDL drivers need to have all of their drug and alcohol information input. And the reason for it is, think of that really rotten driver that maybe we all know of, hopefully didn't hire, that had some real struggles with maybe drinking, got caught, before all of the checks and rechecks happened in our industry. And say I'm a really poor driver and kind of got caught with maybe some wine in Arizona, and I moved to California. I could lie when I get to California and say, don't even like wine, never got caught. Well, it was very challenging for another state to track down actual information about me. And I knew that it would take probably 2 years, and well, I'd have a job for 2 years at least. They're not going to catch me. The point of the clearinghouse is so that everybody in the US has access to data on drivers who move around. So it's input. If say I got caught and I moved from Arizona to California, well, someone in California can pull up my information, and guess what? There it is, Miss Stephanie likes wine, and she got caught. So that's what the point of this clearinghouse is. All drivers have to register. Either you do it for them or have your drivers do it. Either way, there's no right or wrong way. Third-party vendors have to register as well. So if you hire, say, a mobile drug testing company to come in onto your lot and do the drug testing for you, they have to be registered as well, because there is a process that they are part of. So if you are, say, switching from a long-term vendor or contractor that you use to do your drug and alcohol testing, and you switch to someone else, one of the things you'll definitely need to make sure as part of your procurement process and hiring a new vendor is make sure that they are registered with the clearinghouse. There is the website for you, clearinghouse.fmcsa.dot.gov/FAQ. All you need to do is type in Google clearinghouse frequently asked questions. It'll pull it up. But here's the update that I want you to know about if you haven't seen it. The FMCSA just granted a 3-month waiver from certain pre-employment testing requirements. Now, I am not going to go through all of the information for you. I just want you to be aware that there has been an extension. I want you to look it up right here. On June 5, they granted a 3-month waiver from certain pre-employment testing requirements applicable to employers of drivers subject to, and we're talking CDL drivers here. And all you need to do is look at Google FMCSA and waiver, and this will come up. And I'm not going to go through all of this material with you. What I want you to know is you really do need to go on here and look and see how it applies to you. I did not read from beginning to end all of this information. What I want you to do is Google FMCSA 3-month waiver and then get the information you need about it. Some of it will apply to you. Any questions about that? Okay, let's move on. Map 21, this is old news, but new news. Old news is that I hope that you all know what Map 21 is. It's new federal guidelines for any driver trainer entity for CDL services in the US. So you could be like Coral and I had to get our Class A license to drive the simulator. We had to go to a company down in Avondale called Southwest Trucking. This applies to them. They train CDL drivers. We train bus drivers. The federal government has said, hey, we've seen some statistics that CDL drivers are having lots more accidents. There's some things happening. So, hey, we're going to now mandate that when you choose to teach a new CDL driver, and here's where I want you to suspend, we're not talking Arizona DPS bus drivers. We are talking those people who come to us who want to be bus drivers, but they don't have a CDL yet. And so we do that third-party testing. We train them on, they have to do that test. So if you are a district who teaches folks to get there, you train them from beginning to end to get that CDL, this does apply to you. Basically, you have to do some paperwork. You have to do some different record keeping and keep different paperwork. And you have to follow some specific class curriculum objectives that the government wants to make sure that all of us in the United States are following. So this is old news. We've been talking about this for a year. You have to register on a website. I know those of you who are getting your ducks in a row for this because you're emailing me and saying, hey, Steph, is that website up yet? Because I tried to register and can't find it. It's because it's not up and running yet. So that's why it's been delayed until February 7th. The issue that we just talked about with DPS, their program not meshing with ADOT, imagine that on the United States level. The government created this registration website. 50 states have to get their ducks in a row to be able to work with this website. So that's the delay. It makes sense. I understand. Any questions about Map 21? Tommy is saying, since the delay by 2 years, have they released any of the paperwork or the website information yet? Thank you for that question, Tommy. No, they have not. Good question. Let's talk about the Real ID Act of 2005. I'm going to be honest, didn't know much about this until I researched it. This is mandatory for travel starting in October 20 of 21. For those of you who have seen my previous presentations, you say, hey, that's a new date. Yes, that's why this topic is still relevant, because it was initially October 2020. But because of the issues we're having this year with COVID, it's been delayed until next year. I want to show you where you can read about this information. Right here, TSA, tsa.gov. All you need to Google is TSA Real ID. and it will bring this information up. Tommy, you cannot see it? Can you let me know, you guys, that you see the TSA?
We see your real ID screen. We
Okay,
don't.
that's,
We saw you click on, no, the act of 2000. We saw you click on your magnifying glass,
mm-hmm.
but another page must have opened that we can't see.
Okay. Let me make sure that I am still sharing the correct page with you. Okay, do you see it now? Okay,
Yay!
I'm not sure what button I pushed there. So if you were to Google tsa.gov real ID, this is what you'd see right here. This highlighted area beginning October 2021, anybody who is 18 or older needs a real ID compliant driver's license. Why are we talking about this? Well, here's why. Because any of us school districts in the state of Arizona who may travel onto a military base, and there's several of us depending on where we're regionally located in the state. Think of Tucson and the Monahan base right there in Tucson. You have schools on the base. They do field trips. There are reasons that your drivers have to do this update, because at some point, if you say have a field trip or you have to pick up students, you've got drivers routed onto one of the bases around the state, your driver has to show this type of driver's license. So even though I'm saying to you, it's mandated, it's a federal mandate, that's how it directly affects us as a school bus industry here in Arizona. For those of us who might need to travel onto a base, that's where we'll get checked. Any questions about that? In order to get one of these licenses, this is pretty intense. It's just like having a name change or upgrading to, a commercial driver's license. So here's Nancy is asking, will passports still work? Here, I'm going to walk you through in order to get this real ID update. Here's what you need. All documents have to be originals or certified copies in English and certified by their issuing agency. So you need one document of a birth certificate, a passport, that answers your question, Nancy, or a passport card. And you need one document such as a social security card. Your W-2 form will work. So you need each one of those. And you also need two of the following. Arizona residency proof, 2 printed documents with a current residential address. So think utility bill, credit card, bank statement, insurance policy, that sort of thing. Additionally, if the current legal name is different from the one shown on a document, the driver has to show legal proof of name change. So if I get remarried and my name changes, I have to bring that document with me. Or a court order, if that's the case. So just know that in order to get this update between now and next year, you have to have your ducks in a row and have your paperwork with you. Any questions on that? Let's talk about CBD products. The DOT classifies transportation drivers, us, as safety-sensitive employees. Safety-sensitive employees are subject to federal marijuana guidelines. Marijuana, I don't care that we are in Arizona. I don't care if we move to Washington where everything is legal. The state laws do not supersede this federal law. And marijuana is still a Schedule I drug. That means it's illegal. The federal government says, if you want to have this commercial driver's license to drive in your state and be a school bus driver, you must go by the federal guidelines, which are no marijuana, no medical marijuana card, no exceptions. Marijuana, you get to choose marijuana card, marijuana, or a CDL. There's no both. It's either. Now, Here's what I want you to understand about CBD products. The CBD industry is not regulated. Somebody can say CBD, absolutely THC free. You can use it. It won't make you, you won't be altered. You'll just feel better. Because it's not regulated, I am telling you, and I want you to hear me clearly, CBD products that say all natural, no THC will have trace amounts of THC in them. And you will test positive for THC if you take a drug test, which we're in the industry where we have to. So this is what I want you to understand. I know that there are some of us out there who would like to use CBD products and think, you know, I won't get caught. It's just a lotion. It's got honey in it. It's all natural. It'll be fine. You are running the risk of losing your career status because if you test positive, which you can, as I said, it's not regulated. If you test positive, that's a positive drug test result. Now I do want to, let's see if we have this problem again. Can you see now the Department of Transportation CBD notice page?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened with that other page. DOT, because they were getting so many questions about CBD products and they're all natural, they don't have THC, people sending them, hey, what about this product? See, it doesn't have anything in it that shouldn't have in it. DOT actually had to put out a notice to everybody in the US that says basically it's a Schedule I drug, it's not regulated, you can't do it. So the bottom line is CDL or CBD, not both. Any questions about that, about this topic? CBD, no. Any questions? Tommy's asking, is it $25 for the real ID? Well, for you, Tommy, it's $50.
That is not my question. That was my answer to Julianne. Julianne Williams asked how much it was.
I don't know the answer to that. I did not look at prices.
It is $25, yes.
Tommy says it's $25.
Teresa
Okay.
asked, can I get it online since offices are closed? No, you have to visit a DMV office for the real ID because you have to bring in the paperwork to prove. So
Thank you, Tommy.
I just got mine in March before everything shut down. So.
Okay, good. Thanks, Tommy. Good question, Julianne. So let's see. Carolyn is asking a wonderful question. What about white fleet drivers with no CDL using CBD? Well, I am so happy that you asked that because guess what the next class is that I'm going to talk about? White fleet driving. And here's the answer. White fleet drivers, according to the trust, best practice, should be drug tested. If you consider these employees who are going to drive a white fleet vehicle safety sensitive employees, and I can't tell you if your district does or not, that's some homework you'll have to do on your own. If your district considers, say, a teacher or a coach who chooses to drive a white fleet vehicle for field trips, if they're considered a safety sensitive employee, guess what the federal government says? The federal government and the state of Arizona says, hey, they are safety sensitive employees. They should be drug tested. So my recommendation to you, for those of you who have worked with me, you know that I always take the most conservative approach because I see the accidents that come across my desk. I know the conversations I'm having with you guys out there on what's happening in our bus world. So to take the most conservative approach, I would ask you, why would you not drug test someone who's going to drive your district vehicles? Take it a step further. Why would you not drug test someone who could potentially drive our students? It doesn't make sense to me. And Angie says she agrees all employees should be drug tested. If you work with me, you know I do take the most conservative approach. So take that with a grain of salt. Let's move on from CBD products because clearly you know how I feel about it. And here's some really fun stuff. I hope you guys find this really interesting. It's going to be conversation starting for us, I think. So I hope you enjoy this part. for you. So there's a House Bill 3959, School Bus Safety Act of 2019. House Committee, Transportation and Infrastructure, that's where it is in the legislation, Education and Labor. Here's the latest action. It was referred to the subcommittee on Highway and Transit. It directs the Department of Transportation, the DOT, to implement rules for school buses that include, and here's where it gets really interesting, a 3-point safety belt at each designated seating position. Now don't stop listening because you're like, la, 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 no way. Let's get through this. And then I'm gonna tell you what the trust attorney said. So it also says that a fire suppression system which addresses engine fires should be on every school bus. That's fair. I can't see why that's not a good thing. Also, a firewall that prohibits hazardous quantities of gas or flame to pass through the firewall. So basically, a firewall between the engine and our passengers. I think that's fair, safe. All school buses should also have an automatic emergency braking system. Well, I don't know about you, but if you've been out to look at new cars recently, most brand new, even for entry-level vehicles, have new telematic technology on it. So it's coming. Whether it happens with this particular act of Congress or not, I don't know, but eventually it's coming. An event data recorder or a black box. Well, why not? I, again, am one of the most conservative folks you will find when it comes to safety of bus drivers, because I do understand that if you are doing the right thing on the bus, a camera or a black box will only support you doing that. So you should know I fall right in line with that. Spying is not what I think it is. I think it's protecting the bus driver. So we're talking black box here. And then an electronic stability control system. Well, anything that's going to help our drivers react better out on the road for folks who are not defensive driving, I'm going to be all for. DOT also must establish a grant program to assist local education agencies in purchasing school buses equipped with 3-point safety belts or retroactively fitting them onto the buses. So basically what this is saying is, by the way, we want all kids to have a seatbelt and we're going to help pay for it. That's what this is saying. Now, this is not meant to be a discussion on whether you're for or against. I am just letting you know that this House bill is sitting there. I did ask the trust attorney, hey, do we know anything about this? I'd like to be able to tell folks what's going on with it. And he said, it's stalled. It's sitting there. It's stalled. It's not going anywhere. So I'm happy to share this information with you that there is someone out there interested in bettering bus world. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It's not dead, but it's not active. But at least know now, hey, you can, if you write this down and think you're interested in following up on it, go out there and periodically check the School Bus Safety Act of 2019 and see if there's any updates on it. It benefits all of us together to keep up on, hey, what might be coming down for us? Because then look at what's happening with TAA today. They're gathering us all together and making a plan. Hey, what's coming down? What do we have going on in MVD? It only informs all of us. So this information is out there. It's not really going anywhere, but it's something to know. Teresa says a braking system would be great in the event a driver has a heart attack or some other issue. Absolutely right. There is a reason that our cars come today with daytime running lights, telematic, surround cameras, that sort of thing. The car industry knows what they're doing. There's a reason they're implementing that type of safety stuff. So anything that helps us be safer, because when we drive that big yellow, we are invisible to everybody else. So if it helps us be safer, I'm all for it. Thanks, Teresa, that was good. Okay, something else. Docket number, this is through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 2019. So it's last year, still active, 0093. So this is happening. MAP 21 directs NHTSA to initiate a rulemaking proceeding to amend the FM VSS Standard 208, Occupant Crash Protection, to require a seatbelt use warning system for rear seats. Well, let's look at this. So they stopped taking public comments because it was open for a while. It's now closed. In November, issues related to the requirement came out, and here's what we know about it. It says there should be potential requirements for such systems. Vehicles, it needs to spell out what vehicles does this new crash protection technology apply to. So school buses, is that one of them? Will consumers really accept this sort of a judgment? What are the costs and the benefits of saying that rear occupant protectors require seatbelt use in the back of vehicles? That's what this is asking. So here's what I want you to know. NHTSA has flip-flopped on position. So in 2011, they had an issue with seatbelts and said, you know, there's going to be a lot of problems. Why would we do this? Our school districts in the US can't afford it. The type of accidents where a seatbelt would statistically help a student rarely occur. It seems like they occur more. They're just in the news media more. But statistically, the type of accidents where a child would be saved from a seatbelt, those type of accidents have not gone up. However, in 2015, they're saying, well, you know what? Maybe we should look at it. Maybe restraints should be available to students to and from school. Interesting. So they cite the following statistics from a 2010 University of Transportation Center for Alabama pilot study. They put seatbelts on school buses and watched what happened. 61% of students used them when they were provided. So that means 40% of the students did not. 8% of the students used them improperly. Well, if you've got 80 kids on the bus, that's 7 kids are using them improperly. The percentage of use only went up when the school bus driver strictly monitored. So that means you and I are not only incorporating our good student management skills into our good bus environment, we are now the seatbelt police. Now, again, the trust has no opinion. Coral and I don't have an opinion on seatbelt use versus not seatbelt use. The opinion that we do have is, and that the trust takes is, if you're going to supply seatbelts for students, you need to provide training for them, a training curriculum for bus drivers, a training curriculum for school districts to know how to effectively teach kiddos on the bus to use them properly. You have to create a whole program for this. And then have a button available by the bus driver that releases all the seatbelts at one time, in case statistically it won't happen, but in case that worst case scenario does happen. How do you choose in 2 minutes when the bus goes up in flames what 5 kids to release? Have a button. That's, I believe, our opinion. So seatbelts. This, I wanted to show you, this was there. Can you see the seatbelts on large buses? Do you see the NHTSA page?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I want you to Google NHTSA school bus seatbelts so that you can read through these findings. And the next slide is going to show you why it's important that you do your own homework and make your own judgment. This study concluded that requiring seatbelts on school buses nationally would save 1 life annually and prevent 8 injuries. 1 life. I don't know how many school districts we have in the US. Is it 1 million? So we're saving 1 life in 1 million. So that is something that I want someone in school bus world to be part of any decision making that the government decides, hey, we're going to require this. All right, I can handle that, but show me the transportation experts that you had be part of this decision making. That's what I'm asking. 1 life will be saved. Does the end justify the means? That is it for updates. We have time left before we start our next set of classes at 2:40. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I talked about today? Any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions. So listen, thanks for being here today. I went over a lot of information. You guys will be able to see this again on the TAA website. They're recording all of the presentations today. So Tommy, thanks for having us. Thanks for having the trust.
Correct.
Thanks for being
And
with us today.
if you have any other questions, please go back to the TAA website. We are keeping track of all these chats as well. So if there's questions, we can reach out to you. And don't forget to subscribe to the TAA YouTube page where you can see all of this as well, because we will be putting up all these presentations there. Thank you very much, Stephanie. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
All right. So how do I have to stop this somehow. Here we go. End.